And welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations is a podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living a meaningful life. This is the first recorded episode of 2025. I guess Brady's episode was recorded technically New Year's Eve. So breaking in the new year with the Jon Peterson.
Here, President.
How you doing?
I feel like that's my thing. Interesting. I don't know where I'm going with that. Sorry, keep going.
Just breaking in the new year, that's your thing?
Keep it rolling here.
But actually, to your point, maybe to save you here, I think you've been the first episode every year for the last 3 years now, because for the last 3 years, we've done a goals episode.
Fair. Did we do one 2 years ago?
I believe we did.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. Remember that now. That was a good one.
3 years of setting goals together and then sharing them on the podcast and then missing most of them.
Groover Labs. Florida, and Kansas.
Yeah. In fact, change of scenery. If you're watching the video, usually Jon and I record at Another Broken Egg.
We do.
We are in our living room right now.
Does it look weird if I have this pillow here?
I don't even know if it shows up in frame.
I can't see myself, so.
So I've got the camera plugged in to keep it charging, and it's blocking exactly where that pillow is.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So I think you look fine.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I almost feel like we need to have a mirror so we can see what we look like on the other side.
Well, so the next step with upgrading the podcast is they have an external screen that you can hook up to the camera, and then it's like a big shot. You can see yourself. Realistically, I could have hooked it up to the TV behind us with just an HDMI to USB-C.
That'd be cool.
That actually would have been really cool.
That would have been really cool to see ourselves.
Nonetheless, I digress. Here we are,
Indeed.
2025 goals.
4 minutes in.
Well, I'm going to cut the first couple minutes. I started recording this, and then we had a bunch of mic adjustments and other things to do. So we're more like probably 2 minutes in.
2 minutes in.
Yep.
2025.
So I did a quick analysis of my 2024 goals. As any good person does when they're setting their 2025 goals, they reflect back on the previous year and consider how they performed that last year.
Yeah.
And I've got a fun statistic for us.
Ooh. I
set 15 goals last year. What percentage do you think I achieved?
I'm going to say 50.
50%?
50%.
Not a bad guess. I achieved 40% of my goals last year.
Oh, that's not bad.
6 out of 15.
That's not bad.
It's not great.
It's not great, but it's up there.
Yeah.
It's not the majority.
If it was a batting average, it was great. If it was a test, I failed.
Yeah. Fair enough. It was okay. I did not do that deep of an analysis on my last year's goals, but I will say, I feel like for me it was more of a reflection period of, okay, did I devote time to actually getting those goals, like working on those goals,
like focusing on?
Yeah, focusing on those goals, and I found that yes, I don't think because you're saying like you achieved 40% of your goals, but is that is that the statistic that you want? Like obviously
I'd love 100.
Like obviously you want to achieve your goals to 100%, but as long as you're working towards those goals still, you continue moving those needles forward.
Yeah, no, actually I really like the point that you're making there, because one of my thoughts, I also went back and read a lot of my journal entries from last year, and a lot of them were in the pursuit of the goal. It was like, I'm approximating this, I'm getting closer, I can feel the progress I'm making. And then like my year-end reflection was, I'm very happy with the person I became throughout the year. So to your point exactly, and I was going to bring this up later in the episode, so I'm glad you did, even though I hit an abysmal 40% of my goals, I'm actually very happy with who I became in that process.
Yeah, I love that.
Hey guys, Jacob here. Real quick before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a quick second to say, if you guys are enjoying this episode, please make sure to share the link with a friend. You may have noticed I don't run any ads in the podcast. In fact, I don't make any money off the podcast. It's quite the contrary. Over the past 5 years, I've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into the growth of the show, trying to continually upgrade the equipment, bring on better guests, and just improve the overall quality of the podcast. So if you guys are enjoying this episode, or if you enjoyed previous episodes, please share the link with a friend. Sending it to 1 or 2 people makes a huge difference for me on the back end. As always, I appreciate your guys' support. Let's get back into the episode.
I love that. Yeah.
How do you feel about your year?
I think the year was actually really good. Obviously, a lot happened. Going back, like I was reading some of my journals entries from early last year to kind of refresh myself like you were doing. And the mindset that we were in back there in Florida is it's just radically different.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've definitely matured. We've learned. It's like a full 180. It's almost like a different timeline.
Yeah. My prevailing thought, or one of them at least, has been like last year setting these goals and being in Florida at this time, it was like, I'm going to figure it out. I know I'm going to figure it out, but it was like a lot of timid, a lot of anxiousness, a lot of, I know I'm going to be okay, but it's intimidating what we're about to take on. And then at the end of the year, my feeling now, beginning 2025, is, I feel much more confident in what I'm doing. Like, I knew I was going to show up, and I did show up. And so that gives me confidence.
Well, yeah, it's weird to think like last year in Florida, we hadn't started anything.
No.
Like literally not a single brick had been laid in our restaurant. There was not, any progress on that front except for the sign. I think the sign was up. Towards the end, I think the new year. Yeah, because we did a little PR thing. Remember that?
Was the sign? I don't think the sign was up until we got back.
I think it was.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyways, continue.
Yeah, continue on. But it was just like there was so much. We had never gone into development before. We didn't know what anything looked like. We didn't have a GC at that point. We didn't have anybody to build.
We didn't know what a GC was.
We did not know what a GC was.
General contractor, if you don't know.
And I think that's where I'm like, how much we accomplished in a year from the restaurant, just a physical space, a physical entity, whatever, but also like personal development, like how timid we were going into the first one and not knowing absolutely anything.
Yeah.
I would feel comfortable going into a second one. Obviously there's more things, but
right.
Like we have the basics.
Yeah.
We have the basics.
It's also like, I think the straw man argument is one where it's like there's no depth, there's no substance behind it. It's just a statement that you can poke a needle in. And I would almost feel like that's like the fake it till you make it kind of idea. And I feel like I was in that headspace a lot because we had to fake it till we made it. But if you would have pressed me on questions about the restaurant or about development or about what we're going to do or our game plan or financing or any of that, it would have been a straw man. It would have been like, there's no depth to it. I don't know. Like, I'm going to figure it out, but I can't articulate what needs to happen because I just don't know. And then now it's like, when I say something, I feel pretty good about an estimate that I'm making. I feel pretty good about, sharing what my abilities are or how I'm going to handle something or execute something. And that's a big change. There's no substance to it last year.
Yeah. We had no idea.
No clue.
There was no idea behind our words. So, but I think there's part of us that was like, we had to be in that space too. We had to be confident in what we were saying, even if we weren't confident behind the smoke.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we balanced it well. It's not like we were trying to be something that we weren't. Like, I think we were very open about, we have no clue what we're doing. And you can go back and listen to the podcast and hear that. But we also had to, you can only take a step forward if you have some sort of belief that you can actually accomplish what you're trying to do. And so even though we were very timid and whatever else, we also knew we were going to figure it out.
Yeah. And we did. We're still figuring something out.
We're still figuring out, but so much better than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, just reading those journal entries, dude, that's one of the reasons I love journaling. It's just, you can go back and if you journal in a very real and like no one else is going to read this but me, so I can be honest with myself. And you go back and look at it and reflect on it. It's like, whoa, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a quote in mind that says, I want to make some real money. And I think that's like in that time, everybody was like, you're in the stage of hurry up and wait.
Yeah. And
that was such a real thing for us because we stood there for probably 4 or 5. I mean, really, our whole development was like, 8 months in total it came out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole period, we were like, okay, we're ready to make some money. We're ready to make some money.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not done yet.
Yeah.
There's no, we weren't in the black for a long time.
No.
Still not.
And, well, it bounces back and forth. But I read in my journal too, it's like, maybe it was March or February at that point, and we had just gotten pushed back on our development before we even started, and our new opening date was projected for like beginning of August. And I was like, I'm so frustrated. We haven't even started development yet, and it's already pushed back by 2 months. And now we're not even going to open until August. What am I going to do because of that hurry up and wait kind of anxiousness that we were feeling? And then now I just look back and smile, and I was like, dude, August would have been great. We didn't open until the end of September. It was almost October when we opened.
Yeah. August would have been a wonderful time. But I was talking to somebody the other day. It was like, if we would have opened in August, we wouldn't have had one of our managers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a real scary thought of like, we could have opened without a manager.
Yeah. It's not just development that we were timing. We also had to hire on the right people and figure out the right processes and everything. And man, it's such a dynamic situation.
It's just, there's a lot of different variables. There's so many different variables to it.
And here we are. The last year is wrapped up and a lot of momentum rolling into 2025.
And the crazy thing that I think about too is like, we're already a quarter into operations.
Yeah.
1 quarter into operations.
And that flew by.
Yeah. That flew by like a blink, which is awesome.
It makes me think about the next couple years. And I feel like I have to be very intentional with how I'm spending my time because of how quick that last quarter flew by. Like
100%.
I could easily just get lost in the work of the restaurant and nothing else. And that's fine because to an extent, I want to get lost in the restaurant and to make massive progress and keep that momentum. But at the same time, it makes me feel like I need to be more intentional about my calendar. And like, if I only get 1 trip a year, or if I only get one small little thing a year, like you better book it and actually have it set up. Otherwise, this time's just going to continue to fly by. And you're going to look back at this period of your life and all you will have done is worked and you will have had no moments of enjoyment along the way.
Yeah. That's a real thing. It's a real scary thing, actually.
Yeah.
It is. But, the other side of that coin is, you have to balance that. Because some people are enjoying their life a little bit more than they're working.
Yeah. Well, I like the extreme that we're at. Like, yeah. I'm a very extreme guy. I love how much we're doing, but we've set these constraints upon ourselves that force us into this extreme. Like, we know that, let's say you want to go out and celebrate once a quarter and do something together to celebrate the hard work. We know regardless, we're going to have to be up and at the restaurant at 6 a.m. the next day.
Right.
And so no matter what we do, it's always in the back of our mind that now that we have this responsibility that we have to attend to, not just from like, I've got to do this in general, but rather I physically have to be in there no matter what. And so it's, we're pretty locked in.
Indeed. And that's 2025 for us.
That is 2025. Locked in, man.
Locked in, ready to go. Foot is, on the floorboard. We're ready. We're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I got a couple of questions from people for this episode. I put those Q&As up. I'm just going to pick one of them real quick, and then we can jump into it.
Yeah.
The question that I liked was, what was scariest about opening the restaurant?
Probably, this is going to be a horrible answer, but the unknown was the scariest.
Yeah.
And I would say the unknown more in terms of operations than development. Because you and I don't have operator experience necessarily, other than our training in Florida. And, I figured development was going to be whatever it was going to be. We were going to end up with a restaurant at some point. Now, obviously, sooner was better than later.
Yeah.
But operations was where I was really concerned about, because that makes or breaks realistically.
Yeah. With development, you know it's going to get done. You can pay someone a set amount of money, and it's a guaranteed fact that development's going to get done as long as you've got the money for it. So to your point, we didn't have to worry about that. We knew it was going to be done. Even if it wasn't the timeline we wanted, it was going to be done. But there's no amount of money that you and I can pay that guaranteed this restaurant successful from an operational standpoint, from a cash flow standpoint. So that's a very valid concern and fear going into this.
Yeah. It was, I like to go back to September 30th, our opening day.
Yeah.
Because that day was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I wish I would have recorded something like the night before, because I don't think I slept. But, we had 2 weeks of training or whatever it was, and everybody was supposed to be there. I thought, we had our our soft opening, our VIP event where everybody came out, had a free meal. I think we had like 250 guests.
Dude, it was a huge event.
It was crazy. It was crazy. We had a table every 15 or a group of tables every 15 minutes that would cycle in and out. Got to see absolutely everybody that we knew. Mentors came out, people that we knew in town. Just an amazing event. And then opening day comes out. And, it was, I would say it was an average day.
There was a little bit of crickets.
That really was like, holy cow. Nobody's walking through the door. It's 7:15.
Yeah.
What if nobody ever walks through the door? And that was a real thought, because then you've got all of your employees and managers looking at you like, where are the people at? We were fully staffed, ready for the day, and where are the people at? It was like that from until 8, and I don't think we had maybe more than 1 or 2 customers by 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and
that is a scary thing.
Which I feel like we should have anticipated. The brand as a whole does their openings on Monday, because Monday is usually the slowest day in the restaurant. And so you want to kind of ease into things because you've got a new staff, you're just opened, you want to figure things out. So you don't want to open on a Sunday, which is the craziest day of brunch of the whole week. And so they try and do that to help us, but it just really messed with my head sitting there. And it's like, nope, no one's coming in. That's it. We're closed after 2 days. Close the books up, shut the business down. It's over.
Honestly, for me, it was like that for like the first month. It was like, is anybody going to come in today?
Yeah.
Like maybe nobody just shows up, but it never happened until we had a snowstorm and then it happened, but it's kind of whatever. I don't know how we got on this.
The question of scariest part of opening.
That's right. Yeah. That's terrifying.
I agree with the unknown, but I'll make mine slightly different just to entertain the question. I would say the scariest part for me was the unknown, but also publicly having it on the line, because I made that point last year of win, lose, or draw. I want to document absolutely all of it, because I think it'd be cool for people to be able to see that, just because there's no guaranteed outcome with that. So it's kind of fun. It's you get to watch it unfold in real time through the stuff that I'm trying to share online. And so I hope that's exciting for other people. But for me, I was nervous as hell, because it's like, here I am standing. You and I did an interview before we built anything out inside of the restaurant, talking about what we anticipated it looking like and where the kitchen was going to be and where the restrooms were and where our bar was going to go and all of that. And then I continued to do that. I did it weekly for like the first couple months of 2024. And then I spread it out a little bit. I ended up with like 12 or 13 YouTube videos, collection of podcasts, a bunch of Instagram posts. Like, it's all been out there. And so if it didn't work out, I mean, I was just going to look really stupid.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
It's a really scary thought.
But I thought it was cool because like I don't see many other people doing that online. It's like this could be really cool if it ever works out, which I still don't know if it will, but just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that was the scariest part for me.
Keep hammering.
As Cameron Haynes would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's good. I like that.
You like my fear?
I think it's good fear. It's a very publicly facing business.
It is, in fact.
And I don't know, if people realize that. I'm sure they do, but Google reviews, Yelp reviews, like that stuff matters.
Oh yeah.
So that is like front of our heads.
Lifeblood of the business.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So,
all right, you ready to dive into some goals?
Let's dive into it.
How many are you sharing?
I don't know. I wrote down, I was just kind of writing. So, I don't have like a set amount. I can honestly do as many as we need, or I don't know how many you have.
Yeah, I'm not going to share all of them. I set some. I'll share some of them.
Okay. You go first.
Yeah, I'll start first. Okay, so
I broke mine out into categories.
Yeah, you've been good at that lately. Mine is just a hodgepodge. Do you want to pick the category and then I'll go first?
Sure. Relationships.
Hmm.
All right, fitness. Next up is fitness.
I didn't set any relationship goals.
Well, I didn't set any physical relationship goals. It was more like I want to strengthen my relationships with people that I've lost touch with.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like there's people that I can think of in my head that I'm like, they're a long ways down in my text feed.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't feel right about that. So and then build new relationships.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. I thought you meant like you wanted Taylor to bench 250 pounds this year. Relationship goal.
Oh, no. No, she will not bench 250 pounds this year, unfortunately.
Okay, well, kind of along those lines, I set a goal. I want to go home 12 times, which is once a month, which is going to be very hard, but I figured I'd rather shoot a high number than a low number.
100%.
Because it is, I mean, even if it's just a 24-hour trip or less than that, it's just, it's really sad to think you're only going to see your parents 12 times this year.
Yeah.
Or the rest of your family. And I mean, realistically, I don't even know if I probably won't even see them that many times. In fact, I set the same goal last year. Go home 12 times. I made it 9.
Yeah.
That's a scary number.
That is a scary number. It really, really is.
So
it is. That's a good goal. I actually really like that.
Yeah, I know we can't do long visits, but I don't know, man. I got to figure something out because we don't get much time with them,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Fitness is what I've got as the next category. Am I going first on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to get back in the gym 4 to 5 times a week.
There you go.
In Florida, was really good about it just because there was nothing else really going on. You'd go to the restaurant, you'd be there for 10 hours or 12 hours or whatever, and then hit the gym, make dinner, and go to bed. That was our life. So there wasn't, Taylor wasn't there, so there was no girlfriend involved. There was no dog involved. So yeah, that was it. I was going 6-7 times a week.
Yeah. That was a grind session, dude.
Yeah, it was great. It was grinding out. And then got back and get busy. And when we were developing, it was great because he still had time.
Yep.
And then we opened the restaurant, and then your 12 hours in the restaurant turns to 14 hours in the restaurant. And you're like, that you got girlfriend and dog, and all excuses aside, I want to get back in the gym 4 to 5 times a week. I think that's a realistic goal.
I think that's very realistic. To your point, though, it is hard. I mean, you're there at the restaurant a minimum 8 hours, more realistically 10, sometimes 12 hours. And afterwards, you're just tired. Like, it's been a long day. You've done a lot of stuff. You probably want to try and knock more stuff out when you get home. You've got your girlfriend. You've got your dog. You've got to do laundry, get groceries, just normal living things.
Yeah.
And it is hard to make time for the gym.
Yeah, it is. So I want to get back and really grind it out.
That's good. I think it's a great goal.
Back on the grind.
My first physical goal is bench 280 pounds. So last year, my goal was bench 275 pounds. And for the first time ever, I hit my bench goal.
Let's go.
For years, I've been setting bench goals, and I've missed them every year. And last year, I think you were spotting me.
I think I was.
I hit 275, and I was over the moon.
It was in Florida, too, I think, right? Listening to quick. Yeah, it was.
I think it was in Florida. Yes, it was. So this year's goal, we're adding 5 pounds, 280.
Fake plates.
Fake plates.
Just kidding.
Dang.
So 280.
The difficulty is I really want to do 315. Like 3 plates is the coolest thing ever. But that's going to take a while to work up to.
Yeah, you got to put on some more mass.
Yeah.
Too.
I need to get bigger.
Yeah. So kind of along those lines, I want to bulk again.
Oh, I can't. Dude, I love when you're on a bulk.
I want to bulk this year. I want to be, realistically, I would like to be 240 back to where I was when I benched 315.
Yeah.
That was like, I definitely had some more fluff on me than I would like, but I liked the strength aspect of it. And I think if I got back up to 240, I could cut down to 235 or 230 and look okay.
You were a big guy at 240.
I was a big dude, man. I didn't realize it at the time, but then you look back and you're like, holy cow.
You had this wife beater you used to wear while you were eating absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I was like, bro's got big. Bro got real big.
Yeah, I need to get back to that. Just a big guy.
Yeah.
I feel skinny.
Matching that bulking goal. Last year, I set the goal of weigh 200, oh my gosh.
Weigh 200 pounds.
Weigh 190 pounds was the goal last year. Never hit that before. And I ended up hitting it, which was great. I think that coincided with me hitting my bench goal. So this year, just like my bench goal, I'm adding 5 more pounds. I want to weigh 195 this year.
Wow.
So I've already started my bulk, actually. I was coming off the ultramarathon. I was 175, 177 pounds, somewhere in that range. Currently sitting about 182 to 184.
Yeah, that'd be easy.
Honestly,
10 pounds?
It's going much easier than it has previously. I think it helps with all of the access to food at the restaurant. And I'm actually meal prepping, which I've never done before in my life, but I am just making a lot of rice and then a lot of beef or a lot of chicken, and I'm portioning it out, and then I'm making eggs. I'm having at least 4 eggs a day at this point.
That's solid.
Yeah, this is one of the cleaner bulks I've done, even though you've seen it. I still eat some pretty fun food, but this is one of the more intentional, cleaner bulks I've done, and I'm very happy physically with how things are going.
Good. It'll only go up from here. We're only halfway through month 1.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that is the 2 fitness goals. I don't have a cardio goal. I feel bad about that, but I also don't feel bad about that.
2025, the year Jon didn't do cardio.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll put this on the record just before we move to a different goal, or unless you have more. Currently sitting at 220 pounds.
There you go. It's documented.
That is baseline, 220 pounds. I will be 240 by December 18th.
Why December 18th?
I don't know.
There you go. You're going to nail it.
I picked it.
I have 2 more physical goals. This one hurts. I've had this goal for 3 years, and I have failed every time. I will run 100 miles in 2025.
Gosh darn it. Yes.
Dude, I'm so frustrated.
Do you have one picked out?
I don't have one picked out.
I think you got to do Honey Badger again. I think you have to get, you've got to get retribution for that one.
I have retribution for all of the races, dude. I didn't finish any of them.
Well, that one, I think it's flat. You could do it.
100 miles in July in Kansas.
You just got to make it till the night.
Dude, honestly, I'm so upset though. 85 miles. I couldn't do the last 15.
Yeah.
I do this every time. I get so close. And then the pain is just so much, but I don't push through. And I just need to push through.
Yeah. I just don't think you want it hard enough.
I'm tired of it, dude. I'm so tired of having this goal on my list of goals.
That's funny.
I'm going to run 100 miles and never run again. That's not true. But
that's goal.
Yeah.
That's your goal.
My last one, and this one's a stretch goal because I'd have to knock out the 100 pretty quick. I want to roll straight into a full Ironman. I think it's realistic to hopefully start training this year, given I can knock out the 100 miles this year. I don't know if it's realistic that I'll actually complete a full this year. I don't want to do a half. I don't want to do any other style of Ironman. I just want to jump straight into a full Ironman and just rip the Band-Aid off.
That's a good goal. Ironmans are no joke.
Yeah.
No
I think
joke.
it's a terrible goal. I think it's a stretch goal, but
Yeah.
I like those types of goals.
Yeah.
So that's my physical goals.
Kill it.
Yep.
Personal goals is what my next category is. Do you want to go first? You want me to? Or do you have any for that?
Yeah, I've got one. So let's give a quick rundown here. We're in the restaurant industry. I went into this industry having no restaurant experience, and I also couldn't cook worth crap. Like, could not crack an egg and make an egg without making a mess everywhere, and the egg was burnt and just terrible. Couldn't make anything with instructions on it. Couldn't use a measuring cup. Like, literally, it was embarrassing how bad I was. Got a little bit better in Florida. Not much. And then after opening the restaurant, the last 3 months, I have made my breakfast almost every day, and then a lot of times make my lunch too. And I would say I've improved to slightly below average or potentially average as a cook. I can do the basics, the very much so basics. My goal for 2025, I want to become an above average cook. Like, I can make all of the normal stuff, but it's also like I've got my own touch to it. I'm confident. I know what can go where and how to do it. And like, I want to be above average this year at cooking.
I like that. I like that. Very applicable too.
Yeah.
Very applicable. I like that.
It's easy to get reps.
Shoot, man, we'll just throw you back on a Sunday and
I
throw you to the wolves.
I actually am not going to lie. I would like to do that at least once.
Whew. Those guys are no joke.
No, they're not.
No joke.
So
but yeah, you got to surprise people. I like that. That's a good goal.
Mm-hmm.
Should tell nobody about it except for on this podcast.
I've told a lot of people about it already.
Well, that's out the window, I guess. But
it feels so good being able to cook for myself. Like even if it's just meal prepping something simple, that was very intimidating to me and I used to hate it. And now I toss on a podcast and I get invested in what I'm making and I've started to enjoy that process. And then I feel good that I was able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love cooking, man. I feel like it just gives you because you start out hungry. So you're like, man, I wish I had food. So now you're making something and you're trying to make it well so it tastes good. And you get done, you get to eat it. It's just a wonderful process.
It's great.
It's a wonderful process.
It's great.
It's very intimate with yourself. I dropped the ball on this one heavily last year. I think I had a reading goal of 1 book per month.
Yeah.
I think I read like 3 books. So that one, we still got to work on. So for this year, we're going back to it. 12 books for the year.
There you go.
We're starting off strong. I don't have my first book picked out yet, but
we're over halfway through January, but that's okay.
Yep. Maybe we'll do 2 in February and go for
shortest month of the year.
If we'll just do 12 over the year.
There you go.
12 over the year. So, I have written on here slacked hardcore.
Good.
Which I did.
Call yourself out.
Yep. 100%.
I set a book goal last year of 24 books and I read 10. So I also performed very poorly. So this year, my goal is read 12 books. So you and I are in the same boat.
Fair enough. I think the key is to pick small books. Very short books, picture books maybe. But yeah, okay.
I screwed up because my first book that I'm reading is We Who Wrestle with God.
Ooh.
Jordan Peterson. I believe it's 600 pages.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
So,
yeah.
And it's dense, dude. Like it's not just that it's long and girthy.
Yeah.
It's also that it's like really difficult reading material.
It's very hard to read. What's the
12 Rules for Life?
12 Rules for Life. That's a tough one.
Yes.
That's a tough one to get through.
And I'm trying to read for retention. Because I used to read there's one year I read 42 books. I was trying to do a book a week. I read 40 books or something. And at that point, it was just fly through the pages. I don't care what I remember.
Right.
And now it's I actually want to get something out of these books.
Yeah. I have a rough time reading. It's bad. Because I get in that same mode where I'm like, I'm not retaining any of this, so I'm getting bored.
Yep.
And I put the book down and probably never pick it up again, unfortunately. But that's going to change this year, 100%.
I believe it.
Journal goal. I had a journal goal last year to journal every single day, and I did not do that. But I'm very proud of myself. I think I did it a decent amount.
Solid. That's a really good goal.
Yeah, I don't have statistically, but would love to keep journaling and keep that kind of front of mind because I think it is important and beneficial.
Journaling's so good, dude. It's besides the podcast, it's probably the greatest thing I've done over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
It's just consistently do that.
Just reference back to it. I love it.
It's so good for you.
I like drawing too. I like drawing in my journal. It just gives it some character. It's kind of fun.
Do the drawings pertain to what you're writing or is just whatever comes to mind?
Kind of whatever comes to mind. A little bit of both. But on this page, I drew pancakes and eggs and sausage and stuff. So, yeah.
That relates to the restaurant.
A lot of stuff. A lot of fun stuff.
I can't draw at all. So, for me, I like trying to write as neatly as I can.
Interesting.
I find that enjoyable.
Interesting.
But then, so it kind of flows with the mood. I haven't quite been able to figure it out. If I read through this, there's a lot of times where I write lowercase and super sloppy. And I think I've correlated I'm in a bad mood when I do that. And then when I'm in a good headspace, it's all caps and very neat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You can flip through pages and count.
Yeah.
The
I mean, look at this.
Good and bad.
See all the lowercase sloppiness?
Yeah.
And then look at as of recent.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting. Cool.
So that's it. Any other personal goals for myself? I have a couple that I'm not going to share.
I think the last one that I have for personal that I'm willing to share is I want to be like the positive guy in the room always. I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be a tough goal. Just given the circumstances and everything, but I'm going to try my darndest to keep a positive attitude and just keep pushing forward. However that has to, break itself out.
Energy is important, man.
It is.
Keep the vibes high.
Indeed.
My last, I guess, that'd be kind of personal. Take a spontaneous trip. It's got to be short, obviously, because we don't get much time off. But I do that every year. I try and have at least one trip where it's just like I didn't really plan this; it just kind of happened. Last year, right before we opened the restaurant, I messaged Eric Hinman out in Colorado, and I was like, "Hey, can I come over and we'll work out?" And then I called Evan, and I was like, "Can you meet me in Colorado? We'll go hiking." And the whole trip was 36 hours long. I drove almost as much. I spent almost as much time driving as I did in Colorado. But that Colorado trip was the defining trip of last year, and a memory I'll never forget.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
I really enjoy it.
Spontaneity is very important, and I think it makes your mind a lot more flexible.
Yeah, it breaks the mundanity of the routine that you're in. Like, routine's good from the standpoint of consistency and the results that can yield. But sometimes you just got to break a pattern. You just got to do it in a big way.
100%. I think it's important.
Yeah.
For sure. Last category that I have is business. Now, I don't know how far we want to dive into this because we are 40 minutes into this podcast. And I feel like this could be a long topic. But yeah, that's my last category.
I'll let you lead the depth here. I'll just follow your lead.
So in terms of restaurant, obviously we have goals set within the restaurant, stuff like that. But one thing that I want to see and acknowledge that really isn't quantifiable is operational stability. And like, what does that mean? That's still a little bit up for interpretation because we don't know what our cafe looks like at operational stability. But I think we have very distinguishable inefficiencies, flaws in our restaurant that are hindering us from giving the perfect guest experience at this point.
Yeah.
And so identifying those, we've got lists of them, and correcting them, I think is going to be very important this year.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
We're trying to build a system. We've recently started talking about it as a well-oiled machine. And that's a difficult process. Right now, things are going pretty well at the restaurant, but it is more the analogy of a duck where they swim above water in a super smooth manner, but if you look below the water, you see their feet flapping a lot. And it's just pure chaos down there. And that's kind of how the restaurant is. It's all hands on deck. Jon and I are jumping in, putting in fires, and they're
out fires probably.
Yeah, putting out fires. And
we're starting our own fires in the restaurant.
Yes, but we're putting out fire. I mean, there's times where I'm in the dish pit and you're in the window, and like we're doing things that whatever it takes to make it work, which is the right answer. It's what you should do. But we want to get to the point where we have systems in place where it's like, I feel confident going to take a meeting outside of the restaurant and not worrying about what's happening at the restaurant without me being there present. And that's what we're shooting towards is how do we identify the problems? How do we correct them? And then how do we make this thing a well-oiled machine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to find our formula. There is one out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to solve that formula as we speak. And I think that is a really interesting change in the last quarter that I've had. It was like at the beginning, it was like, okay, what are we doing? And, how are we doing it? And now it's like, okay, we know what we need to do, right? We need to get food out quickly, efficiently, in hot, in a very timely manner. And it's like, okay, now we know we have identified that we can do all of those things separately, but how do we do them all together
Right.
so that it all flows and we have a great service for 7 hours
Right.
on a Sunday where nobody breaks a sweat,
Right.
you know?
Which is crazy. I mean, we look at other people that are franchisees of Another Broken Egg, and we've started shadowing them because I think we recently kind of figured out that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The best way for you and I to learn is not to sit there and stare at our operations and say, what's wrong, and then just beat ourselves up. It's to go see the people do it right, and then to compare what is right versus, oh, now it's clear what we're doing wrong, and let's implement what they're doing.
Exactly.
Beg, borrow, steal. But it's to see some of the metrics that are meaningful to us, whether that's ticket times, whether that's weekday sales, whether that's comps, discounts, etc., to see where other franchisees are compared to us, it really opens our eyes to like, oh, okay, they clearly are doing something right and we are clearly doing something wrong. Let's go ask them and then follow their lead.
100%. 100%.
And that's the formula you're talking about.
Exactly. And, once we have that formula, I feel very confident that we will be able to scale as quickly as we would want to.
I'm curious to see how that conceptualization changes over time. Like, what does it mean to us to scale in 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
100%.
Which is half the fun of the podcast. We got one restaurant right now. Who knows what happens 5 years from now?
All right.
So
next year at this time, we won't be sitting in here probably.
Oh, that's sad. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Life keeps moving.
We haven't been in the same place in the last 3 years. Statistically, we won't be probably next year either.
That's true. We move a lot.
We do.
Okay. I mean, we've got like our personal restaurant goals that are like, I don't know if the numbers with them are meaningful. I set a bottom line number, but I think I think a better way to talk about that would be like both I want to grow sales and I want to cut costs.
Right.
Which is like, duh, obvious. But to what you're saying, those are my two big focuses this year is how do I spend money more efficiently, i.e. not overspending, and how do I create the absolute best unparalleled customer experience so that we build absolute ambassadors of Another Broken Egg Cafe. And this is the place to go. They love coming here. They know our staff. They know Jon and I. They know our managers. They know our food. They know what to expect when they come here. And it's excellence every time. Every
single time. Again, there's no way to quantify this, but be the best. I want to be the best.
The industry standard.
The industry standard.
Yeah. I just wrote this today and I like it. So I'm going to share it because I feel like it relates to this. Part of our formalizing process is we're putting together all of these docs for like, when we bring someone in that's a new hire or something, how do we get them to understand what our culture is and who we are and what we're about? And so this is one of the documents that we put together, and these are just a couple of sentences in it. And it says, the Another Broken Egg way. We have high standards and strive for continuous improvement. Our culture is one of hustle, teamwork, fun, and opportunity. We are focused on offering the best in industry experience for everyone who comes through our doors. We go above and beyond to serve the best food, offer the best service, and build genuine relationships with our customers. And I think that's the goal this year.
Yeah.
It's just to execute on those things.
Execute, and get everybody on board, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that buy-in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these restaurant ones are hard to talk about. I mean, so we talk about scaling. Our goal is to open another one of these. That is the goal. We have a lot of work to do before then. My stretch goal was to get the second one open this year. That's going to be very hard. I'd like to be working on the second one by the end of the year. Yeah. And then that way we can get it open in the next year. But that's what I'm shooting towards as the big goal is get ourselves in a position to go from 1 to 2.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly where I'm at too. We most likely will not get the second one open. Unfortunately, it would be great if we did, if we found some way to kind of expedite that process. But realistically thinking we'll be 2026 for sure.
Just set ourselves up for it though.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. 100%. Is it all you had for the restaurant?
I think so. I mean, I wrote down too, it's like we've got different goals as it pertains to like bottom line, ticket times.
Yeah.
margins, different things like that.
Super specific, probably not that interesting for our listeners.
Right.
Yeah. I'll run through my last couple real quick just because they're specific to me. Last year I tried to do a YouTube video a week. That was far too much. The quality was too low. It was a lot of them turned into podcasts, just me talking in front of the camera, not actually like, I want to do more storytelling this year because we have an interesting story that we're currently writing. And so I want to make 12 YouTube videos this year instead of 52. And the parentheses, and this is something that my cousin Evan will laugh at, my parentheses says hard edits. We call an edit hard whenever it's like super high quality. It's very intentional. It's not drawn out. Like everything is super, super intentional. Like I put out 2024 was the best year of my life is the title. That's the video I put out at the end of December recapping 2024. I think it was like 6.5 or 7 total minutes between recording and editing and then post-production. I spent probably 10 hours on that video for 6 minutes. And that sounds stupid, but I think the video turned out very well. It made me better at editing. It made me better at storytelling. And I think storytelling is huge, especially with helping you to communicate with other people and be more articulate and just be well thought out and intentional. So I want 12 hard videos this year, 12 hard edits of what's going on and what we're doing.
Do you have like a time constraint that you want to hit?
Yeah, I'm trying to do one a month.
But
less than 10 minutes.
Less than 10-minute videos?
Yeah. I want 12 less than 10-minute videos, super intentional, great edits, high quality cuts, all the above.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Where can we find those? Are those going up on YouTube? Or?
Yes, those are on my YouTube. I think you could probably just look up Jacob O'Connor. It's where all the podcasts go. It's the same channel, so you can find it on there. Just kind of a speed round here so we can wrap up because we have other things to do this evening. 52 podcast episodes. Absolutely upset, distraught over this. I made it 2 years, almost 2 years, without missing an upload for that week. 52 episodes a week, 52 episodes a year. And what was the situation? I missed one right at the end of last year. There was 1 week where I didn't upload an episode, and I think I had just gotten sick or we just got super slammed. I don't remember exactly what the reason was, but I put out 51 episodes last year. And so my 40% goal achievement last year, I've got a big old X next to it because I was 51 for 52. Even though that's 90 some percent, it is not 100. So I couldn't count it. So that really sucked.
Yeah, that does suck.
So
that does suck.
The goal this year is 52 episodes. And let's see. I think I'll just do one more. I want to grow OC Farms honey. I'm doing that with my cousin Evan. I really enjoy it. It gets me to learn about something. It's still a business. It's still me trying to get better in general, but it takes my mind off the restaurant a little bit. And I really think honey is something that's important. It's beneficial. It gets me out in nature and connects me with my family farm, which I love. So I want to grow that. And the goal for that is to do $2,000 in sales for this year. So we had one hive last year. I don't have the final tally on it, but we did a little bit under $1,000 in sales. It went really well, had a lot of fun with it. Essentially, I want to double it from last year.
Are you getting more hives and expanding operations? Yeah.
So we had one hive last year. Our bees just died over winter because they are weak and inferior. So we're going to be ordering a new hive. We're going to order 2 hives this year on the family farm just south of Chicago. And then I'm actually talking with a mentor of ours here in Wichita about adding a hive or 2 or maybe even 3 to his farm out here. We should have to figure out what that would look like. I don't know if that will happen, but I would love to open up a Kansas branch of OC Farms honey because the local pollen's better whenever it comes from that area to help you with your allergies. So I'd love that for myself.
100%. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, excited to see where that goes for sure.
I love it. You let me keep all of the honey in here. So it's been cool to have the inventory in hand and to have the labels. And I finally had time to sit down and went through it last night. And Evan brought me my half of the inventory whenever he came up to visit. And I went through the list and I was like, oh, I got to stop putting this on Instagram. I sold all of my honey. Like, let's go.
We are sold out. You should put something out that says sold out.
Yeah. Well, Evan's still got a couple jars left. He's been slacking. So we're about to cross the finish line. I may even have him slide me a couple because I had to give away some of my personal honey to meet my sales. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But that's that. John, where can they find you online if they want to learn more about you?
Honestly, LinkedIn's probably the best nowadays.
I was just say, I think you're just going to do LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best. You could try to follow me at the John Pete on Instagram, but I'm private. So
He's locked down.
I'm locked down.
Which you had a goal to post a lot more last year.
I did.
And I think I noticed you changed to just wanting to keep that part of your life private. Because my estimate or my guess was you are so much more public now than you had been previously that you just wanted to have something to keep to yourself.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of value in social media and stuff like that. I just don't find enjoyment in it for some reason. And I don't know why. But it's not something that interests me. I'm an introvert at heart, honestly, very, very introverted person. And I'm not a big show your life guy. It's just how I am.
It's a good balance. It's a yin and a yang for us.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you were sharing it, I mean, you and I do 90% of things together. So I got us both covered.
Fair enough.
You can keep yours private.
That'll 100% work for me. But find me on LinkedIn. You can look me up. So.
Big LinkedIn guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You can find me at Jacob O'Connor. The podcast is at Real Period Conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to share it with a friend. God bless America.
God bless America.